Hey guys, BAKD here. I am currently on my alt and I was having trouble finding a halfway decent build for my regular stabber. I've been playing around with this and this is eventually going to be my faction cruiser account. I'm nowhere near the required skills to fly a faction cruiser yet, so I'm just kind of getting to know the game a little bit with the stabber here. Eventually I will be going to the Navy issue stabber. If you see here, I am almost tech level 6, but I am currently on tech level 5. If you see in our cannons, I cannot train medium cannon upgrade yet until tech level 6. And this is where you get, well, on this one here, you get a pretty hefty damage and accuracy and optimal range bonus. But what I'm having trouble with right now is the tracking speed. It's really hard to hit frigates. I did try the range build, which I'll show you in just a sec. But I did the medium strike cannons with a web and a target painter. I was hitting just multiple zeros over and over again. 0, 0, 0. The tracking speed on these are very low. It says 10 on there. So there's a few different builds we can do. But at this low level, I have a few recommendations for a stabber build. This account will be a armor tank, but let's just go ahead and look at the stabber really quick. So, for medium cannon operation bonus, you do get the accuracy fall off and medium cannon activation per level there, so you definitely want to have that skill maxed out. And the cruiser command bonus, which is only the level 1 command bonus there, so it's really easy to max that out. Going to 4 or 5 is pretty necessary on the stabber. Overall, you can get these things going pretty fast. They have a pretty decent power grid and capacitor. But if we go into our attributes and fittings, technically this is a shield tank. It has more shield than armor, but I went with the armor build because that's eventually what type of cruiser I'm going to be going into. And it seems to work just fine. They are just a few hundred off each. I do like shield tanks more, but I'm trying the armor out for now. For skill wise, before we get into the build, of course those 2 skills should be trained up fairly high. Cruiser command there, I have 4 and 5. Advanced cruiser command, I need 5 out of 5 for the next ship I'm flying. I do have a afterburner bonus, which I'm going to use just for tanking, but if you're doing any sort of PvP, potentially a micro warp drive, up to at least 4 and 4 is pretty necessary on this. I'm not going to be using a micro warp drive currently. I'm just going to use an afterburner for a slight bit extra tank while I'm ratting. Under maintenance, I have 0 shield operation, but for armor, I have 4 and 2 and 4 and 2. So this is a pretty new account. Seems to be faring pretty well so far, doing the missions that I can do. Cruiser defense is 4 and 2. We definitely want to get that up. 4 and 4 might be pretty good. Especially by the time we hit the stabber fleet issue. Engineering is about the same, 4 and 3 there, so we don't have as much power grid as we could potentially have, but I'm not really finding a problem fitting this with the necessary mods right now. Electronic warfare, this can definitely be trained up, along with the signal disruption, which I'm actually going to buy now. And I'll train a little bit of this later. This will help out the target painters and other things we could potentially fit on there, but mainly the target painters. Targeting is 4 and 4, which is pretty good. This does lock kind of slow, but seems to lock rats just fine is what I'm using it for. Of course, the medium cannon operation. Both of these should be trained up for the optimal usage on this ship. Tracking speed is still an issue, so potentially doing the advanced cannon operation to max before actually going too deep into the next one at tier 6. This is a fairly budget build, but like I said, I slotted the strike cannons and they just weren't working. I had to go with a kind of brawler build on this just to get my ratting done. The optimal range on these says 2, and the accuracy fall off is 13, so it can hit things up to about 10 kilometers out with fairly decent damage. The tracking speed is 55 on this, so as long as they're webbed and target painted, I can take out frigates pretty easily. Going into that, I have just a interruptive stasis webifier because we are going to be well within the 13 kilometers of this, so that's pretty necessary to have for frigates. We have a target painter on there to increase their signature radius. There are other options for this slot, but I think this is necessary, especially with the slow tracking speed. I do have a Mark V infiltrator. This will do damage to shields, while this does more damage to armor and hull. So I think it's a good mix to slot a Mark V infiltrator on there. For our low slots, I did do a medium ranger afterburner. It does give you a slight bit more tank. You're not as speedy, but as long as you don't get scrammed with the micro warp drive, that's fine. But I like my extra capacitor, and this seems to get me around just fine. I do have a Rebirth gyro stabilizer for the extra damage. I was having trouble even hitting, so the extra damage didn't really matter too much. You could potentially swap this out for a Marketeer tracking computer, which I'll show you a few different builds here, but this will increase your tracking speed. Let's see how much it went up by. Not much at all, about 5 or 6, but when popped, it will help you hit a lot better. So that itself is going to increase its damage if you're able to hit more reliably. So it's kind of a toss-up there. I do have a Sparkly Adaptive Armor Hardener, giving you 20% resistances all around. This was fairly expensive, but I did have it just sitting around. So I'm going to swap this out in just a sec, and for the last slot, we have a Federation Navy Medium Armor Repairer. This is going to give us 426 armor repair per tick. At this level, at this stage, I don't take too much damage. Usually my shields drop and my armor can just keep me up. So what I'd like to do is swap this out for a gyro stabilizer and have the tracking computer, and hopefully do a little bit more reliable damage. We are at 320 DPS there, so that seems to be working just fine. If we go into our rigs, I do have the free ones. So I have a 7.5 damage and a 4.5 activation time. I have a little bit better build set up for the Stabber Fleet issue once I get it, but those are just the free ones. For the bottom slots, I would probably recommend, if you're having capacitor problems, you can wait for your free semiconductor memory cell. Pop one of those babies on there for capacitor. The other option is doing velocity and a polycarbon engine housing. This thing can be a little bit sloppy, so you can just kind of orbit at 2 and just kind of let it do its thing. You don't need to have that tight orbit just exactly at 2. So my recommendation is potentially going a little bit faster. The auxiliary thrusters, the free one, and the memory cell for the other rig slots there. Let's go ahead and undock really quick. I will be getting my free rigs in a few days, so I'll slot those on there. I will have my Stabber Fleet issue by then, so this will just kind of be a throwaway ship for fleet ops or something. So let's go ahead and pop our gyro stabilizer. Let's get all these going. So for just a regular stabber, we have 409 DPS, a capacitor of 1 minute and 54 seconds, which we don't have our armor repair on all the time, so that doesn't really matter too much. And we are not going too fast, but with higher skills and those rigs we just mentioned, we will get around 1,000, maybe 1,100 if we train just a little bit more. And that's well within the ratting range. You can somewhat speed tank and get around and loot and stuff, so that seems just fine. Tracking speed with the... That's weird, said a capsule arrived or something. Well, my tracking speed didn't multiply, so I'm not really sure how that tracking computer works, but it does give us that 6% bonus there. Oh, it increases our range and got it, and accuracy fall off. So we are at 2 and 15. Let's pop this again. We are at 4 kilometers, 24 kilometer fall off, and an 84% tracking. Excuse me. So that will definitely take out your frigates quick. You pop both of these simultaneously, web them, paint them, and you can slap them out. And then you can just freely go around and rat from there. So I'm going to go ahead and do one of my encounters, but for the people starting out the game, I hope this stabber build helps out. I'm definitely not going to do any PvP right now. This is just a PvE count until I can get some better skills. And I'm probably going to wait until I get T6 just to show you a harder mission, because these ones are just about cake. Let's see if there's anything nearby. Yeah, I'll find one of these. I want to find a slightly harder one if it can pop up, or I'll wait the next day or two and just do the guide then. But let's get right into the ratting. I'll be back in a little bit once I find a good one. Well, my recording keeps corrupting, but this is just the first wave of an encounter. For mine defense, the 500k reward. I just hit tier 6, so I can start getting the slightly harder missions. I seem to be faring pretty well. My capacitor is a little bit low, so I could consider swapping either the web or the target painter out for Nosferatu. Let's knock this Osprey Corax out. Okay. We are taking some hits now. I don't think I can pop my damage or my musketeering tracking computer again, so we'll just take off the passives for now. Just slowly chew away at these guys. I should probably take the MOA out next. Just draining my capacitor. Now you see how hard it is to hit this Manticore. He's target painted and webbed with my tracking computer passive. And I'm just barely hitting him. With the strike cannons, there's literally no hope. You just miss. You gotta fly out, fly in, basically aim right at him to hit him. Looks like our capacitor dropped. Let's get another boost on there. We are full armor. What I'd probably do in this case is warp out, but my autocannons doesn't use any capacitor like lasers do, so I can just continue to sit here and pop them. Go ahead and dock at the station because my capacitor is low, and what I am going to do is replace either my tracking computer or my gyro stabilizer with a capacitor battery. I want to stay in the fight longer. I don't want to have to warp to this station and back every time I want to heal just for a hard mission. This will be how I'm making my money in the future, so let's get docked up. Alright, so I'm heading back in for the last two waves. I just wanted to go over a few things here. I took out my tracking computer for a capacitor battery, a medium one. I had a few different options. I was thinking about taking my target painter off for a medium Nosferatu. This would have kept me completely topped up within my optimal range, but I don't have any Nosferatu skills trained yet. So I'm thinking the capacitor battery with the passive and popping it, I can basically cycle through everything and not run out of capacitor ever. So let's go ahead and warp in and try this. I'm going to speed this part up until the very end and see if I don't warp out again. And there we have it. 450K in the bag. The capacitor battery definitely did help out on that. You can be extra safe, and instead of the gyro stabilizer, you could slot the sparkly adaptive. You could swap it for the tracking computer. That's really your choice. So let's get in our PvP fit now and see if we can find anybody. If not, we'll just see how fast we can go and zoom around. Alright, I just wanted to show what I was able to fit at this low skill level for cruisers as a PvP fit. You can do smaller autocannons, but I like the more damage versus a few different builds. But if you went down one level on autocannons, you can fit a Scram in this spot, which will actually be a better choice than technically the damage, but this is all I have. I can't afford any smaller autocannons right now. The web is pretty necessary. Being up in someone's face, you got to get them webbed, especially for faster targets, just due to the slower tracking speed on this. I am getting a little bit more skills, so it went up to about 63 tracking speed. Due to my power grid, which can be fixed by getting different autocannons and equipping a Scram in its place, I had to go down to a Mark V medium armor repair. You get about 50 more armor repair out of the Federation Navy here, so I definitely recommend that. I could train 2 levels in engineering, but my skills are extremely limited right now. I am going for level 4 medium autocannon here. I just hit tech level 6 yesterday, so I was able to unlock this path right here. So once I get 4, I can do a couple more into this one. Of course, the tracking speed is important on that, so getting those trained as well. But you'll see my command bonus for cruisers are 4 and 4. I kind of went over it, but I just want to show this on the PvP side. And electronics, if I did get this, I think one more level here, my power grid would increase, and switching the rifles would probably help as well. So for a few choices, of course, you got your medium armor repair. I did do a tracking computer since I do not have a target painter. This is kind of a damage brawling build. Hopefully you can take out your target before they can take you out. I did the extra damage there. And I did a medium scout micro warp drive instead of the afterburner to get that large velocity boost, get right in their face, web, and disrupt them. Our disruptor's at 26 kilometers, and I don't have much training in that, so that's probably partly why my capacitor's so bunk right now. I do have my free rewards, so as I recommended, the multiplier, and I don't really care too much about the polycarbon engine housing because you can fly this thing all badass crazy and just attack whatever. So I would like the extra speed, and then down below I did damage and activation time. Well, after warping around for a while, I wasn't able to find any PvP action. This thing warps around kind of slow, and I just kind of lost interest. This is definitely a good DPS ship for ratting at a low SP. I pretty much got this in, 10 days. I was at tech level 5. I am now tech level 6, so I'm going to go to the Navy issue at no time at all. I do like the target painter and the web, along with the capacitor battery, a medium one there. It seems to hold up capacitor good. You can just rep the whole time when you pop that. The other build, of course, you can do 2 gyro stabilizers on there, but I would change the painter to a medium Nosferatu to keep your capacitor topped up. You see we have 353 DPS, so at a low SP level, it's actually extremely good. I do have a few points in the next medium cannon that I unlocked, so that is slightly higher than what you guys will have at tech level 5. Of course, the other option, you can slot the Sparkly, but definitely have your Nosferatu on there. We are cap stable when it's active, so you can basically be very tanky, Nosferatu, and be a little bit safer in a sense. I do like DPSing faster, so if I can get away doing anomalies just slightly faster, I'll do it. So that's all my different builds I've been using. I hope you like the rigs I used, and hopefully this helps you out if you're just starting out. Kind of shows you how to get into ratting a little bit, and this thing is pretty powerful to say the least. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.